I'm 100% in. And if I fail, I can live with that because I given everything I got. Because I was super small, I wasn't disciplined, I wasn't what I am now. If I never found the gym, where would I be today?
Why go all in?
Should I be spending all this money on this stuff? Should I be, sacrificing all these events, potentially sacrificing some relationships? I needed to figure out life. The past, 5 years or so, I was solely focused on bodybuilding, but that left a gap in my personal life.
Achieving the greatest amounts and still not being fulfilled.
Yeah.
That can be hard.
Yeah, and it's kind of from coming out of, such a trauma state that I was in and not even be able to look after Brett.
Yeah.
Can I take on coaching, looking after my clients, then a new relationship, and then, oh, you know what, you're actually a father now too.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Tool for Rise podcast, aka the #1 podcast in Winnipeg, where we document the rise and stardom of Winnipeg's talent and personalities. I came across a stat recently that says 85% of people watching or listening to this episode are not subscribed. So if you could take a moment to hit that subscribe button, it would mean the world to us. Not only would it give us and our team a dopamine hit, but it also give you a reason to join the mission of spreading love and inspiring stories with the entire world. Today, we have Brett Riffel on the podcast, a former Mr. Manitoban bodybuilder and also a now personalized fitness coach. In the first half of the episode, we talk about the ins and outs of bodybuilding, the regime looks like, the diet, the working out, the prep, and the competitions. And in the second half of the episode, we transfer into the personal journey of Brett, how he was a very well-decorated bodybuilder and was still not fulfilled, and the journey that he took over the last 5 years to get to a point where he is fulfilled. Again, if you gain any piece of value from this episode, I urge you to hit the subscribe button, and I will see you in the next episode.
Thank you. You fill up the chair.
Start up. It's a comfy chair. I was telling you before we went live here is that I've watched a few of your podcasts, and I've kind of always, one thing kind of was like, man, those are some comfy chairs and comfy couches. That looks like.
Hey, I'm glad they work because that's the whole idea. Sit back, relax, let's talk.
Chill. It's actually like a very inviting environment.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, thank you. That warms my heart. That warms my heart. Well, thank you so much for coming. You are massive to start off, but you're a fitness coach, correct?
Yes, correct. So
let's talk about.
So I work for a company called G-Fit Wellness, which is, the leading company in terms of health and fitness in all of Canada.
Yeah.
So, we work with all different types of clientele. Clients who want to lose weight, clients that want to gain muscle, clients that maybe, have any sort of medical condition such as diabetes or high cholesterol or, just the general population wants to learn more about health and fitness, healthy eating, how to work out, is kind of what I do. And for myself specifically, I focus a little bit more on elite athletes and contest prep clients.
Okay.
But as a company of whole for G-Fit Wellness, we work with anybody.
Nice.
Basically all walks and ages.
Cool. Yeah. And you're not new to this world at all, right?
No, not at all.
You were an elite athlete in the past, and talk me through that journey.
No, great. So growing up, born and raised in Winnipeg. My whole life has been around sports, from a very young age, and I think that's from my family growing up. They're diehard sports fans. If it's the Blue Jays, if it's the Jets, if it's the Bombers, whatever it may be. So from a very young age, sports is kind of in my DNA, I like to say.
Nice.
And growing up, I played every sport. From baseball, basketball, volleyball, track, football, anything that's kind of school offered. And then primarily outside of school, I focused on baseball and played a really high level baseball growing up through my whole life, or until I was about 20, 21, somewhere about there. I kind of stopped.
Nice.
But grew up playing the highest level of baseball in Winnipeg, provincial team, everything like that.
What was that journey like? Why baseball specifically? Why did you gravitate towards that?
Great. I don't really have a clear answer for that. I think the simple answer is I was good at it.
Okay.
Is the clear answer is I started from a young age. Growing up, you kind of have two different paths when you're a young kid. Is do you go soccer or baseball in the summer? Is kind of the two things.
That's true.
I don't really remember this for what my parents tell me. I started soccer. Didn't love it. It wasn't for me. And then they put me in baseball, and it's kind of, you know, the love of the game just hits.
Damn. Okay.
Is the thing.
And then when you say you played at a professional level or like at an elite level, what
Elite
do you
level.
mean?
So there's different levels in baseball growing up. So it goes from single A to double A to triple A. So basically difficulty level or how good
Yeah.
you are. And then I played triple A my whole I guess life growing up.
Yeah. So you've been an active kid, you could say.
Yes, very active, very active.
Okay. Right. And then where does this transition into bodybuilding
Bodybuilding.
and working out and getting all that discipline stuff in?
Great question. So, like I mentioned, I kind of played baseball up to, you know what, 2021. I was playing junior at that time.
Okay.
And you know what, being an elite athlete, working out is part of it. If you don't want to become, you know what, take your game to the next level, no matter the sport, you got to start to, you know, eat better and get into the weight room.
Yeah.
Basically get stronger. And I started to get into that kind of right out of high school.
Okay.
You know, I went to the University of Winnipeg, and like any kind of kid, you know, out of high school into university, it's a huge shock.
Yeah.
And being like, wow, you know, I'm not necessarily prepared for this. So, you know, probably not a great thing at the time, but I would go to the gym instead of study.
Okay.
And it kind of be my outlet.
Yeah.
And I got super into working out. And then, you know, I wanted to obviously get better at working out or get more results. So that became the nutrition side. And you know, to start off, I wanted to work out to get better at baseball. But it turned into more that I loved working out more than baseball. So, you know, I actually in my second year junior, I was only 5 games into the year, and kind of had to call my coach up and say, you know what, my heart's not in it anymore. Is you know, and like I kind of need to move on and into my new passion. And it was a huge shock to everybody, my coaches, my family, teammates, everything like that, because you know, growing up, baseball was my identity, right? So I'm like, you know what, it's a huge decision, but I kind of needed to make it, and that gut feeling of be like, you know what, I'm done with this part of my life. I found something else I love.
Damn.
Yeah.
What made you come to that realization? Was there certain things that happened either on the court, off the court, or you just fell in love with working out?
Not really anything happened with baseball. It's just it started to feel like a job.
Okay.
And so, like, you know, I wasn't wanting to go to the field. I wasn't wanting to basically put my time into that. And I found myself, you know, wanting to go to the gym more. And if I had to choose, you know, do I go to practice or do I work out that day?
Yeah.
I would rather, you know, work out than go to practice. And I think it wasn't fair to my team, my coaches, and even to myself to be like, you know what, I could put up with this and play out the year, but is it really what I want to do?
Yeah. What was the schedule like when you were
for playing baseball?
For baseball,
it was heavy. So, you know, even from a very young age, it would be, you know, 6-7 days a week.
Okay.
You know, we would play anywhere from, you know, 2 games during the week and probably a doubleheader, which is 2 games in one day, on the weekend on a Saturday or Sunday, and then practice the rest of the time.
Damn.
And so it's very, very high commitment level.
Yeah.
So it doesn't leave much time for other things. So that's kind of like, you know what, most people listening might be like, oh, you could probably work out and play baseball at the same time. It doesn't necessarily work too much. A lot of guys are, you know what, working out hard in the off season, and then they don't work out during the season because they're so busy playing. So. And
then when you're working out for baseball, is there a specific thing that you're training? Is that different compared to
that's a great question. Is it's more sports specific training. So, you know, when we're talking about athleticism, is we're working on explosiveness, strength, power, mobility, flexibility, so we can, you know, perform on all different levels on the field. When we talk about bodybuilding, it's more, okay, you know what, how big can we get a muscle? How round can we get a muscle? Instead of, you know, sports specific training.
So it's much more like size and looks.
It's more size and aesthetics and looks. I know it's not so much functionality, right? I'm not worried how high can I jump? How fast can I run? You know, how fast can I swing a bat? I'm more worried about, okay, what does the mirror show me?
And what was your body like for baseball? Like, you have a baseball body compared to now having a...
So, like you alluded at the beginning, is a little bit bigger now. Playing baseball, I was a twig. Okay. Like typical ectomorph. You know, at just over 6 feet tall, about 6 feet I sit. Probably a buck 55, a buck 60.
Okay.
Currently I'm kind of like around 240.
Damn.
So, you know, close to 100-pound difference. So it's definitely a dramatic difference in terms of the look.
Yeah.
And you know, you need to be a little bit slender for sports. You need to be a little bit more athletic. You need to be a little bit lighter to move more. If you throw me on a baseball field right now, I guarantee it would not be any good. Yeah.
Okay, so now you're a twig.
Yeah.
165 pounds,
Yeah.
160, 150, whatever. How do you get to where you are now? Like, what was the first step? You're like, okay, baseball's done.
Yep.
I'm out of here.
So first step there is you know what? Actually, I hired a coach.
Okay.
So similar to what I do now, I hired Grant Reed, who is actually the owner of GFIT,
Yeah.
and who I work under now.
Yes.
I met him at 18, 19, somewhere in that ballpark. And you know what? I actually originally hired him to help me with my nutrition and train for baseball.
Okay.
And then it kind of turned into being like, you know what, I don't want to play baseball anymore. So I talked to him and said, you know what, I want to get into competing potentially. And how that started is actually seeing him coach some of my stepbrother's friends.
Okay.
So they did some bodybuilding competitions way before me. And, you know, they've obviously come over to my house and everything like that and be like, yeah, you know, I see how they look. I see their discipline. I see them on Instagram. I see what they achieve on stage and be like, you know what, that might be my new journey or my new path.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
So that's how that started. So I hired Grant, got into, you know what, saying I want to potentially bodybuild in the future. And he shared with this to me recently is just like, you know, when I first came to him, he's like, you know, I don't know if I'll ever see this guy compete because I was super small. I wasn't disciplined. I wasn't what I am now. I was a completely different person at that time. So basically it started with hiring him, getting on a nutrition plan. That's number one, is you kind of heard the saying before, you can't out-train a bad diet. So that's so true, is it starts with nutrition. So getting enough protein a day, enough calories, the right types of food. So that was like the first step. And then honestly, just consistent training and time.
So why go all in terms of bodybuilding? Like, what drew you
Me in?
to the world of bodybuilding? Like,
Anything I do, I kind of go all in. Is if it's no matter what it is you know what, if it's anything really, I'm just kind of like, you know, I'm not going to put one foot in and have one foot out. And I kind of just gravitated. I knew baseball was done. I knew sports was kind of done for me at that time, especially, you know, being done high school. The rec leagues or beer leagues or whatever didn't really appeal to me just because I was a high level athlete. I like the competitiveness, and I felt like that wasn't super competitive. It was more for fun. So I needed another outlet or another goal. And you know, weightlifting or bodybuilding appeared, and I just gravitated towards it.
do you think there was any lessons that you learned throughout playing those sports as a kid?
Oh,
those
yeah.
things that
100%.
translated over?
100%. Like, you know what? Bodybuilding is a next level discipline that it needs and attention to detail. But, you know, even playing sports throughout my whole life, it still requires commitment.
Yeah.
You know, you got to go to practice. You got to go to the games. You're, you know, accounted or accountable to your teammates. You have to be coachable too. Is like, you know, that's a big thing.
Yeah.
You know, in bodybuilding, there is a saying is it's a very individualized sport. And then it is you are upstage or on stage alone, but there's a million people behind the scenes that help you get there.
Wow.
Similar to your teammates, right?
Yeah.
You have your coach, you have your family, you have your friends, you have your, you know, friends in, I guess, community at the gym, kind of cheering you on. So as much as if it's individualized, it's still a team.
Yeah, and you're still working towards a goal, right?
Correct.
Like everyone, maybe even nutrition planning, to your coach, to yourself as well. You're competing with like other people on stage, but you're also competing with yourself to see if you can get better.
Exactly.
This reminds me because I'm coaching for a basketball team.
Okay.
Now, and they're grade 9 girls, and some of them, this is the first time they've ever played basketball, and basketball is a sport. And I've played basketball growing up in high school as well, but to see it from a different point of view of being like, okay, now I'm the coach.
The coach, right?
And so now they're listening to what I have to say,
Yeah.
and they're looking up to me in terms of, okay, this is the good plays we're going to run. This is how we're going to work out. This is how much drills we're going to do. Did you have a similar journey as well when you flipped over to
basically being a coach, from an athlete?
Yeah.
100%. And you kind of have to, become more of a leader, right?
Yeah.
It's as an athlete, you can be a leader on a team, but it doesn't always come naturally to everybody. But as soon as you're as a coach, you're in a leadership position, no matter what. So I think that's the biggest obstacle is being like, I'm in charge. What I say kind of goes, but obviously not in a negative way.
Yeah.
But it's more becoming a leader.
Of course. I'm fascinated by the bodybuilding
Okay.
world. I see things scrolling through Instagram and the poses and the training that they do, and a lot of influencers coming up and documenting their journey,
Totally.
especially to get to that point.
Yeah.
How long was your journey to becoming and getting to the point of competing?
No, great. Just thinking back, like I probably would have started to train really heavily in 2014.
Okay.
Would have been like, when I started to take the gym very seriously.
And what does that mean?
And when I mean seriously, I mean, eating my 5-6 meals a day.
Okay.
Staying on nutrition 100%. Not going out partying, drinking, or anything like that. Being disciplined enough to say, I got to be up in the morning for my workout. I got to go to bed at a certain time. I got to, eat my meals. Even if you have family events or going out with friends, and it's not on your nutrition plan for that week, is you eat beforehand, eat after, or even bring a meal with you.
Wow.
And you do miss tons of events, and it's sacrifices, but it's worth it at the end of the day, to me at least. And then my first show was in 2016.
Okay.
So if we kind of think about it, it probably took 2 years to build, to get enough muscle and develop the physique enough to even think about stepping on stage.
That's insane.
Yeah, and if I'm looking at 2016, I actually wanted to do my first show in March of 2016, and I started to prep for it. And everything like that. Started to go through, the intense diet, the cardio, the training, everything that it entails to do a contest prep. And at the 8-week mark, I pulled the plug. I said, you know what, I wasn't ready for it. For a couple of reasons. Is, at the time I said I wasn't physically ready. And there is some truth to that. I probably wasn't physically mature enough or have enough muscle at the time. But it was more of a mental battle, I think. It was like, can I really do this? Do I believe in myself to do it? So I talked to my coach Grant and said, you know what, I'm not giving up on this dream, but I think we should postpone it.
Wow.
So we both agreed and kind of came up with a new game plan, being like, you know what, we need to improve my physique more. So we decided to do the October show. So still in 2016. We decided to do October, so it gives us a few more months to prepare, and also allowed me to, in a short period of time, become a lot more mentally strong. Yeah.
You say the story now, but I'm sure like those 2 years was a grind.
Yeah, those 2 years are a huge grind. Is because the biggest thing is, especially in today's day and age, is everyone wants now.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So it's kind of remembering, okay, why am I doing this? Why am I getting up and eating the same thing day in, day out? Why am I going to the gym, at 5-6 days a week? Why am I, saying no to all these events that, at the time seem awesome?
Yeah.
I really wish I had a great answer for you. It just, I think, comes down to how badly you want something, and the discipline that you have, and how meaningful a goal is to you.
And what was that goal? The goal was to
The goal is to compete.
To compete?
Compete and see how far I can push not only myself physically, but mentally as well. And I think throughout the time, the one thing that keeps you going is just how you feel better and better. Like, growing up, I dealt with a lot of, anxiety, and I wouldn't say self-consciousness, maybe a little bit of self-consciousness, but more anxiety about, social anxiety or anything like that. So like, if it was 10, 15 years ago, no way I would be on a podcast.
Wow.
And then working out and, building your physique, gaining more muscle, everything like that, that kind of just builds your confidence. So I think that's the driving force in between the start and the finish,
Yeah.
And why you keep going.
So did you use working out and this as an outlet to
100%.
to either push everything away or to deal with the transformation between the
Both. It was an outlet of things that I was, trying to escape. And I think, most people go through between, high school, let's say between 18 and 22 is, everyone's trying to find themselves, right? It's like, who am I in this world?
Exactly.
What am I going to do? And working out was one, an escape from that stress, but it also was a tool that I used to find myself and who I wanted to become.
Okay. That's very deep.
Yeah.
That's very...
Yeah, it's just thinking back to it, it's very emotional and being like, you know what, if I never found the gym or never found working out, where would I be today?
Yeah.
And then I wouldn't know.
Have you reflected on why you think you were so self-conscious?
Not really. I think it did come down to, it being a little bit smaller, skinnier, growing up.
Yeah.
And then it's maybe not self-conscious, more of a confidence issue.
Okay.
Is like, I wasn't too concerned about what I looked like or anything like that. It was just, I didn't have the confidence to be more outgoing. I was quiet. I was, I kept to myself, and didn't put myself out there.
Why is that?
I don't know. I think it's just who I was growing up.
Yeah.
To be completely honest, it was just maybe how I was raised or anything like that. But yeah.
But you knew you didn't want to be like
yes,
that.
correct. Like, I knew there was more, and at the time when I started to work out, that wasn't the goal. The goal was to become better at sports.
Okay.
But as you evolve in working out, that confidence rises.
Yeah.
And you start to be like, okay, I can do X, Y, and Z and put myself out there more. And then, you also start to get a little bit more attention too, which I think helps. And people like see the hard work and they have a little bit more respect for you, and that helps just build the internal confidence.
Wow.
Yeah.
How important was it seeing the transformation like day to day, or like, I'm sure there wasn't much day to day.
That's another really hard point is you don't see it day to day, especially yourself, because you see yourself in the mirror every single day and you're like, am I improving? Am I making results? It's more the outside people that see that, or someone who I didn't see for 6 months or something like that. They'd be like, wow, you changed completely.
Yeah.
And that kind of maybe the week before I was kind of second guessing myself, like, should I be doing this? And you kind of get some of those compliments from some other people, and you're like, okay, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going.
Do you have any stories from your workout or that 2-year period that like stand out, whether it's like hitting a certain PR or a certain like training regimen that you were very proud of, or a moment that someone came up to you and was like,
no, that's a great question. The one that really stands out during those 2 periods is probably the first time benching 225 pounds. Is kind of like the one thing that really stands out, because growing up, everyone wants to bench a plate.
Yes.
Which is 135 pounds.
Been there.
Then everyone wants to bench 225, and then 315. Like, that's kind of an initial benchmark. And why that was really significant for me specifically is, actually, I should have touched on this earlier, but before I started to get working out in grade 12, I had shoulder surgery.
Okay.
I tore my rotator cuff. I tore my labrum. So
that was from sports?
That was from sports.
Okay.
From basically overuse of going from playing baseball to basketball to football to badminton. A lot of overhand sports. And when I started working out, I was really bad at pressing because of the shoulder injury, because as a surgically repaired shoulder, it's not super strong. It's always in the back of the mind of, any athlete can tell you, if any injury, it's still in the back of the mind. If it's a knee injury, if it's a shoulder injury, no matter what they're doing. So you're like, can I actually do this? So that would be like the one thing that really stands out.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what was the feeling when you hit 225?
Amazing. It's kind of unbelievable, right? It's like, You know what? I remember I started working out. I was like, you know what? Can I even bench press the bar?
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And you're like, I got a long way to go here.
Yep.
But seeing that progression makes working out fun
Okay.
too.
Yeah.
And that's what I kind of say to anyone that's listening is to keep going is make it a game for you. Is, you know what, every single week is, you know, you try to improve. Can I lift a little bit more weight? Can I get another rep?
Yeah.
Is my intensity a little higher? Stuff like that.
I can relate to that, but you know, a little toned down version. When I hit a plate for the first time,
Yeah.
that was a feeling because I never thought I could.
Totally.
Especially I was probably in a similar boat where in grade 12, very skinny guy. Not that I'm giant now, but compared to then,
Yes.
compared to then, I was very. And so in high school, started working out first year, university, a couple of years, and then when I finally hit, I was like, oh, this is insane.
Totally.
This is, and now I'm working towards the 225.
There you go.
You know, one day I'll get there. But
Where are you at currently?
I could do probably 155.
There you go.
150.
You're definitely on the
165,
way to
there.
go.
Yeah.
And you know, you just got to keep up with it. And that's the number one thing with anything fitness related.
Yeah.
It's consistency.
Exactly.
Is day in, day out doing it consistent. And you know, when I say consistency, it doesn't always mean, you know, 5-6 days a week. You can be consistent 3-4, but let's do that over a year,
Yes.
over 2 years, and then you'll see progression.
And that's something that I really had to learn, especially coming right out of high school, because similar to what you said earlier, you want it right away.
Yeah.
You want it right away. And so New Year's would roll around.
Yep.
And I'd be like, oh, New Year, new me. Let's
Yes,
go.
totally.
Let's run it. And the first couple of years after high school, I was like, yep. And I'd go for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and not at all. And it was only after maybe I started this podcast, maybe I started like getting into the world, is when I noticed that consistency part of things.
Totally.
But you were pretty consistent for those 2 years, I assume.
Very
Yeah.
consistently. I would even argue more consistent than I am now.
Okay.
To be completely honest, it was you know what, my life. Even though working out was still my life, it took it over to another level.
What was your mindset throughout that period? Like, were you all, so for example, when you were working out through that 2 years to getting to like that October date, were you always looking at the end goal of like, I want to get on this stage and that's what I'm running towards?
That's the end goal for sure. And that's definitely, you know, in my mind every single day, but it's, you gotta have goals in between, because if you constantly just, you know, say, you know, here's my end goal, and a lot of people it's too far away, and they say, you know, I'm going to do it tomorrow, I'm going to do it next week, or I have a month still. It's little goals in between, and that's, you know, why having a coach or someone that you really respect to keep you accountable is huge, because you set those mini goals, right? You set those short-term goals, like, you know, this month our goal is, this is the numbers we need to hit in the gym. This is the number we need to hit on the scale. This is the consistency or the adherence level I need to see for someone to be able to achieve their goal. And you know, weekly check-ins with your coach always helps too.
Okay. Yeah. So now that you've decided in this period of the story that, okay, I'm going to do it in October?
October, yeah.
What was the lead up to that? Like getting prep? What does that whole process look like? I know nothing about it. So
great question. So prep is another ball game.
Okay.
So you know, usually everybody preps a little bit different in terms of time length. So you know, a typical prep's anywhere from, you know, 12 to 20 weeks or 25 weeks, depending on how much someone has to lose. And then, you know, also the time frame of what's going on in their personal life. But basically it's all about weight loss, right? Or fat loss, I should say. Bodybuilding is how much fat can we lose, but how much muscle can we retain? So we present the best physique on stage. So it involves, you know, a very strict diet. It can be no cheat meals. It could be a cheat meal a week. It could be refeeds. It could be diet breaks. Everybody's prep's a little bit different, and that's why you know, it's important to have someone in your corner that knows what they're doing. And then, you know, it's tons of cardio, tons of training, and your life basically revolves around the gym, training, sleep, for 3-4 months.
Is it like painful?
Not necessarily painful. Maybe the last little bits, I wouldn't say painful, it's just challenging. It becomes more of a mental battle towards the end than a physical battle, because usually, you know what, by the 3-4 week mark, you should be in close to stage shape.
Yeah.
For most people, but it becomes, physical exhaustion, mental
Yeah.
exhaustion, hunger comes into to play.
Okay. And the whole, what, like, body percentage were you down?
So probably like on skin folds.
Yeah.
So basically skin calipers.
Okay.
Somewhere probably around 2 to 3% I was on.
Insane.
If we actually got a DEXA scan done, which is basically a body scan. We have a place in Winnipeg here called Body Measure that does it.
Okay.
It's kind of like the gold standard of testing. But again, not everyone's able to do it because it costs money.
Yeah.
Is it's somewhere probably around 5%.
That's ridiculous.
So
Oh my God.
it's very lean.
Yeah.
And very rewarding at the time.
Wow.
It's not sustainable though.
Yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
you're in that period for a very short time.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
And that's for when you get on stage.
That's when you get on stage.
And do the different poses?
Poses, exactly.
Okay.
So different poses and stuff like that would be what you need to be on stage to present a winning physique.
And so how is this like criteria to like award it? Like, is there someone that's looking at, okay.
Yeah, so there's usually a panel of judges.
Yeah.
So judges are basically judging a few criteria. So they're looking at, your conditioning is called. So how shredded you are or how lean you are.
Yeah.
Symmetry. So basically from your left to right side. So how symmetrical you are. Muscle maturity and muscle density. So how big someone is.
Yeah.
And then stage presence, posing.
Okay.
So
when you say like how big someone is,
yeah,
it poses the question of like, is this natural versus unnatural?
correct.
And so where does the world of bodybuilding stand on that?
So there's two different routes someone can go.
Yeah.
So there is natural routes and natural federations. So those are drug tested shows.
Okay.
So no performance enhancing drugs. And there's basically, it goes by a WADA list, which is the World Anti-Doping Agency.
Okay.
So they have a list of what's allowed and what's not allowed.
Okay.
So that's one route someone can go. And then there's what's called the open, which is non-tested. So someone can be, on whatever they necessarily want.
Isn't there, like, is that dangerous, or is there horror stories of things that go on?
Fantastic question. There's both sides to it, and this is where it comes to be having someone in your corner that knows what they're doing.
Okay.
Is having someone with the education, having someone with the knowledge that if you do go down the enhanced route, that you're not screwing up your body.
Yeah.
Because there is a risk by any means of taking performance enhancing drugs to liver damage, kidney damage, heart damage. But
Yeah.
as long as you do it correctly, my personal opinion is that it's relatively safe.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's all. I've always been curious.
Totally.
Because sometimes one of the main reasons I got into working out was I'd see like these actors on TV.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, I just worked out I just ate chicken and broccoli for 2 weeks straight. And I was like, that. And the realization when I realized, oh, some of these actors and some of these professionals that do this for a living are actually taking enhancements to look the way they are. That was a realization. I was like, oh, okay.
Totally.
So
like, I wouldn't say PEDs make the journey any easier.
Okay.
It just lets you take it to the extreme.
Okay.
Is in my opinion, it doesn't, necessarily help you burn fat easier.
Gotcha.
Or, make it easier to get to stage. It just enhances what your look can be.
Okay, that's very interesting. What is the culture like in the bodybuilding world? Like when you're competing against these guys on stage, is it competitive in the sense that you're trying to go at each other, or?
It's a healthy rivalry is what I would say. And you know what, in my experiences, it's been really amazing. Especially here in Winnipeg.
Yeah.
We have a great community, and obviously everybody that competes wants to win.
Yeah.
And that's our driving force to get first place. But at the end of the day, everybody understands that everyone went through the exact same journey. The hard dieting, the hard cardio, the hard training, the sacrifices that they gave up from birthdays, family events, Christmas, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
That at the end of the day, you're just happy to achieve the goal. And you know, if I look back to my first show, before stepping on stage, nervous wreck, right? Is, you know, leading up to that show is like, you know, I'm about to go on stage, basically butt naked, and show off my physique. Like, this is so outside my comfort zone.
No.
But you know what? Right before stepping on stage, it's kind of like something came over me and being like, you know what? I put all this work in. I'm not even nervous anymore. I'm proud. I got there. I achieved my goal. No matter, you know, if I win or lose, I did what I said, and I kind of stuck to my word.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
When you walk out on that stage and you see lights and people there, what's that feeling like?
You kind of black out.
Okay.
Is you kind of just go and you're like, okay, we're gonna do our thing, and that's why you practice posing. That's why you have a routine. Like, you do all this stuff leading up to the show because it comes second nature.
Yeah.
So at that point, you know, it's just muscle memory that takes over.
Damn. And how often are you practicing, like, after like a pose or something?
Posing, you know, I recommend for people to start as far out as possible.
Okay.
For a couple of reasons. Is one, you can always, there's never a bad thing to have more time. Two is, you don't want to leave posing to the end, because what I was mentioning is you get tired towards the end and fatigued, and you say, you know, I got time to do posing, I got time to do posing, but at the time when you're really tired, you specifically don't want to do it. So I like to start, you know, 16 weeks out, 12 weeks out.
That's so insane how you train your entire life, or like an extended period of time. You're so big and you have all these, and then you're going to like basically like show off your body towards like to other people. Is that like a meta weird feeling that you have? Like, what's it like having hundreds of people stare at you and like?
It's you know what? It's kind of like, you know what? A little awkward, but it's also like something that you're super proud of, because that was the goal, right? And you know, you got to a point to be able to have a physique like that and show it off. In my mind, it's not so much about showing off the physique, right? It's like, you know what? Yeah, you know, it's nice to have a good chest, abs, arms, everything like that. But it kind of, what you're showing on stage is all these weeks, months, years of the work in the gym or the kitchen is kind of what I think is the most impressive.
Wow.
And it shows the discipline.
What's like an underrated part that most people may not notice? Like, yes, they realize, okay, you have to go to the gym, yes, you have to eat, but what's something about the whole journey that's maybe not at the forefront that most people don't know about?
No, that's a great question.
Like the intricacies or something like that.
I think the biggest thing that people don't understand is the science behind it. Is you know what? It's not just I can eat chicken and rice. There has to be certain amounts of protein, carbs, fats. It can't be just saying, you know what, I'm going to go onto the Stairmaster as long as possible, or the treadmill. It's everything's detailed out specifically. Is, you know what, I want to eat this amount of calories, do this amount of treadmill to make sure that you're in X amount of deficit to be burning, you know what, 1 pound a week, 2 pounds a week. Because if you're, you know what, in too big of a deficit, you can actually be losing muscle. And that's the last thing I want, you know what, anyone to do stepping on stage.
Is that a tough balance to have, especially with like the world of saying, okay, cardio, you're going to lose the natural inclination is if you do cardio, you're going to lose weight.
Totally.
And is that balance between losing muscle and fat hard to?
It's the hardest thing, is because as your body is in a deficit, so less calories, you're consuming less calories than it's burning. You can't be in too big of a deficit or too small of a deficit. You kind of have to be just right to make sure that your body's, you know, using fat as fuel compared to using your muscle tissue. But then again, you can't be in too small of a deficit, or you're not making enough progress in the time frame. So that's why it's, again, important to have someone in your corner being like, you know what, knows exactly what they're doing.
And then how much are you involving cardio into the
routine?
Yeah.
Everybody's different. A few factors come into cases, you know, what kind of body type someone is. If they're an ectomorph, mesomorph, endomorph, you know, what their day-to-day activity is like too. Is it, do you work an office job or are you a construction worker? That comes into play, as well as how many calories are you burning per day. And then also, a big thing that a lot of people don't understand is training intensity. So, if you have a client that's super, super high training intensity, they probably need to do less cardio because they're actually burning more calories.
Wow.
So it can be anywhere from, 10 minutes to 2 hours, depending on the specific client.
Okay. So now that you do your first show,
Yeah.
At the end of the show,
Yes.
what was the result and what were you feeling after?
I won both of my classes.
Okay.
For it, so I did juniors because I was only 20 at the time,
Sure.
or 2021. So I was able to do juniors, won that class. Then I did light heavyweight bodybuilding, which is it's all based on weight classes.
Okay.
So that's where I would have fallen in weight wise. Won that show or won that class.
Wow.
And then, you're kind of on the top of the world, right? It's kind of you're like, on a high, for lack of a better word, and being like, wow, you know what? All this hard work paid off.
Yeah.
Even though, that's the result we wanted, but it would have been paid off no matter what the placing would have been. And I was hooked. Is basically, they, kind of say, you get bit by the stage bug.
Okay.
And being like, you know what, you either love it or you hate it. I find for a lot of people, people are like, yeah, I got to do this again, or I'm glad I did it, but never doing it again. These two different routes.
And so you were the first.
I was the first. I got bit by the stage bug and said, okay, you know what, when's my next show?
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And so when was the next show?
Next show was 2018.
Okay.
So I took 2017 off to grow. Because, being super young, I still needed size and still needed to grow my physique. So I took the whole year of 2017, similar from 2014 to 2016, to just, eat in a surplus, go to the gym consistently, and try to put on as much muscle as possible.
What did you learn from the show that you implemented probably into your training?
Into my training is the number one thing is I would say the intensity of training. So you know what? Instead of going to the gym and just going through the motions, I'm gonna check off a list. Okay, I did my cardio. Yeah. I did my training. I ate my meals. Okay, that's awesome to start. Yeah. But doing it with a purpose is kind of the biggest thing I think I've learned from show 1 to show 2.
And then did you go harder for the next?
Yeah, for 2018 was my next show, and I experience in anything is amazing, right? So having that knowledge under my belt or that experience, it gives me a leg up, I should say. Yeah. So I knew what prep was going to feel like. I knew what the last weeks are going to feel like. I knew how if my body felt really sore or really fresh, can I push or pull? Yeah. Do I need to rest more? Do I need to go a little bit harder? I have all those details already because I went through them.
You got the experience under your belt, and so okay, the feelings that I'm going to go through. Correct. It's not the first time. Wow.
Yeah. So 2018 was all about basically beating 2016 and stuff like that. Is bringing a way better physique to the stage. Yeah. And I did a new category as well. Okay. So at that time in my first show, I did bodybuilding, and then 2018 there was a new division that was just a couple years old called classic physique. Okay. So it was more, instead of being mass, like a bodybuilding look, it was more to be like the Arnold Schwarzenegger look back in the day. Yeah, okay. So to be more like, the 70s, 80s bodybuilders. And I chose to do classic because with myself being, at 6'1", it's a little bit more suited to my height. Because the weight caps are based on height and weight. Okay. So if you're 6 feet tall, you can be this weight. If you're 6'1", you can be this weight. Compared to bodybuilding, like I was mentioning about weight classes, it's just weight. Gotcha. So me being 6 feet tall, someone could be 5'8", the same weight. They're gonna be a lot bigger than me. Damn. So it's a little bit more of a shorter person's game.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. And then this is the Arnold look, correct?
Yes, correct. So that's kind of what the IFBB based it off of.
Okay. Yeah. And that's like the standard, or like that's what you need to achieve to win?
Correct. Like that's more the judging criteria. So the judging criteria between bodybuilding and in classic, they want more aesthetics. So a smaller waist, bigger arms, not super big legs, but proportionate legs with the upper body. They want better posing and stuff like that.
Got you. So we talk about how you went from winning and then you had that high of the bug. What were some of the lower moments that you experienced throughout the entire journey? Not so much the training and all.
Throughout the entire journey
Yeah.
is I think the number one thing is kind of a crash from the high, because you know it you only can be on a high so long.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Is, you know what, that's amazing, you can ride that, but then there's a time that it's like, you know what, all this is over. Like, you know what, I gotta get back to an everyday life. I gotta get
Yeah.
back to stuff. So that comes back to the discipline, being like, you know what, the show's over,
Yeah.
but I still want to improve, right? And you know what, you're on a high, you win, you know what, you get all this popularity, for lack of a better word, and then people forget about it a week later.
Damn.
So the low is kind of being like, okay, you know, it's over and done with. What's next?
Yeah. Okay.
Is the thing. So getting back to discipline.
Mm-hmm.
Another low would be, you know what, figuring out what I need to do in my personal life to even afford bodybuilding too, because bodybuilding is super expensive.
Okay.
And that's, again, maybe another misconception that a lot of people don't understand.
Yeah.
Is, you know what, it's not cheap to do, because you know what, you're buying a lot of food,
Yeah.
a lot of groceries, especially protein, which is the most expensive in the grocery store. And then you're paying for a coach, you're paying for gym membership, you're paying, you know, for your supplements, you're paying for all these registration fees. Like it's a very expensive sport to win a trophy at.
Yeah.
But again, like I've said, it's not to win a trophy. It's the whole journey.
The journey along.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was it hard to balance your personal life and like your working out life and this training as well?
Of course, totally.
Yeah.
Like, you know what, especially in a prep, you know, you don't really have a personal life. Is you don't go out with friends. You know what, miss family events. It's kind of bodybuilding 100%.
Yeah.
And that leads into, you know what, some resentment from people. And being like, you know what, do they support you? Do they not support you? And you lose people along the way. But as like in my case scenario, or in my case, I knew that that's what I wanted to do. And, you know, if you're going to support me, great. If you're not, you know what, maybe our journey ends here.
Does that hurt a little though when the people you are close to or people you'd hope support you don't?
Oh, for sure. In the time. Yeah, 100% you're hurt. And you're like, you know, I don't understand it fully. And you know what, you're pissed off, for lack of a better word. But looking back, you know what, you're thankful for the time you had with them. But you're also like, you know what, I'm trying to level up. And you know what, they're just not meant to be where I want to go.
Does that push you harder in the gym then a little bit?
Totally, a little bit. You know, it's not maybe a driving factor, but it's, you know what, on those grueling sets, those grueling reps, is you know, that's a little extra oomph.
Yeah, of course, of course. Yep, I can relate a little bit.
Yeah.
It's
It's kind of like that, you know, acute motivation.
Of course, right? You're like, I'll show you. Like, you know, I'll get this off my chest. I'll push this off. So
exactly,
I can see where that lands.
Yeah.
And so you continue to do these shows.
Yes.
Throughout 2018, and then
2018 I did it again. Classic. I won that guy again.
Okay.
The biggest class of the show.
Yeah.
Wow. And then 2019, I did 2 shows as well. I did, first was our provincial show here. It used to be an organization called MABA, Manitoba Amateur Bodybuilding Association.
Sure.
I actually won the overall there, so the whole show for Classic Physique. Wow. And kind of get the title like Mr. Manitoba Classic Physique. So that's pretty cool.
What was that like?
Pretty cool.
You walk around Mr. Manitoba.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool in that front.
Okay.
And you know, it's surreal, and being like, you know, that's kind of like at the time the ultimate goal.
Yeah.
And then a week later, I did our show called Van Dyke Classic. So that's a new organization that's kind of taken over now, called the CPA, which is the Canadian Physique Alliance.
Okay.
And that show is still like running this day, and that's what I coach people for now. And I won my class in that show as well.
That's insane.
Yeah.
You're very decorated.
Yeah. So got a few trophies at home from those. So
wow.
It's definitely helps, you know, at having success in the sport, being like, you know, I'm going to continue to do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of my competitive history, and then, you know what, I got into coaching.
Obviously, I probably know the answer to this question, but was it all worth it in the end?
100%.
Getting those trophies and all those sacrifices that you put in?
100%.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's definitely times throughout the journey that you question yourself and you're like, you know what, should I be spending all this money on this stuff?
Yeah.
Should I be, you know, sacrificing all these events? Should I be, you know what, potentially sacrificing some relationships?
Yeah.
Even, you know, getting into work as well. You know, at the time I was doing bodybuilding, I worked retail. And there's a lot of times throughout the journey is due to bodybuilding, due to the prep, because it takes such a toll on you that your performance at work goes down, and that's, you know, it puts your job at risk,
Yeah.
right? So that's
For real.
something you throughout the journey, you're kind of like, you know what, question yourself, and do I stick it out? Do I just quit? Do I continue going?
And then what do you tell yourself in those moments?
In those moments, it's you know what, you kind of have to believe in yourself and be like, you know what, again, it's similar to, you know what, starting a prep to that goal is, where do I want to be in a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, and you kind of have to yourself, you know what, by doing this, am I on the right path, or do I believe in myself to do it?
Yeah.
And there's a million times that I don't.
Do you have any regrets throughout that journey?
That's a fantastic question. Not necessarily. No, like, you know what, there's things I would do differently,
For example?
but I think I would have been, you know what, at the time or certain times through my prep, a better person. And what I mean by that is, you know what, because prep does take a toll on you, I probably wasn't the nicest to some people, or, you know, in the best headspace, or, you know what, the happy go along person I am.
Sure.
But at the time, I wouldn't say I regret it, because I wouldn't be where I am today.
That's true.
And the lessons I've learned, and especially, you know what, all those hard times I can pass to my clients now.
Yeah, damn. And it probably comes from a place of you wanting to achieve something.
Totally.
Right.
Totally. And it goes back to going 100% in. Is you know what, I'm not going to be 80% in. I'm going to be 100%, because at the end of the day, if I can say I'm 100% in on any single thing I give, that's all I can do.
Yeah, and then even if the result isn't what it is, at least
Yeah.
you know personally.
You know personally that there wasn't, you know what, another ounce of effort you could have given.
Yeah.
I can go to bed sleeping comfortably.
That's very admirable.
Yeah.
That's very admirable. In terms of getting out of the bodybuilding world and going, what was that transition like?
So
what came to that?
What came? No, great. So 2019, like I said, was my last show, and at that time, I needed to figure out life. The past, you know, 5 years or so, I was solely focused on bodybuilding, and achieved quite a bit, and was very happy with that. But that left a gap in my personal life. I'm being like, you know, in debt from bodybuilding, being, you know, no direction on what my clear future would be for a career. And then, you know, even at the time too, it leaves also a lot of gaps in terms of fulfillment, because you've seen a lot of success in bodybuilding, but you also see a lot of your friends and stuff, like, you know, in successful relationships, in successful careers, buying a house, and moving out and stuff like that. And I was left behind in that. So that was, you know what, from 2019 onwards, has kind of been my journey figuring those things out. So I was, you know what, like I said, working retail for all those jobs, and you know what, I worked retail at one specific location for 5 years. I was assistant retail manager. Loved the work, loved everything about that. But I actually got let go from there, and a lot of that was to do with, you know what, at the time, I wasn't the greatest person in terms of, you know what, it was from bodybuilding related. I was also going through a really hard breakup at the time, and that kind of made me maybe not such a great employee. And it's kind of like a wake up call and saying, you know what, I need to get my shit straight. So
what was that period of time like?
That was one of the hardest periods of my life. That was, you know what, I would say one of the defining moments of my life, of being like who I want to be. So
because you've achieved all this success,
achieved all that, had that success, and then you're kind of like, you know what, at rock bottom, for lack of a better word, and being like, you know what, I got to figure out my life. Deep depression came in, and, you know, not knowing if you even want to to live, for lack of a better word.
Damn.
And that time was really hard. You know, tons of counseling sessions. I even went on prescription medication for antidepressants at that time. And you know, trying to find what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And you know, during that time, I even kind of gave up on the gym. Like I would go, but not as consistent. I would kind of be like, not really wanting to go, or just go through the motions, or just do cardio. There was no fulfillment in life. So
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. That's very.
So that was a really hard time. That was, you know, I'm just thinking back to dates here.
Yeah.
I think that was around 2020. I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
And again, especially losing my job at the time was devastating too, because you know what, at that time I thought I was going to be at that place for forever. I thought I was going to, you know what, work there for the next 40 years.
Yeah.
Right.
And were you fulfilled by working there?
I was.
Yeah.
I was.
Okay.
And everything like that, and I was happy and everything like that, but it shocked me, but didn't shock me at the same time, that I was let go, because I was a great employee, but I wasn't a great employee
in the right way
at for an extended period of time.
Got you.
Yeah.
Got you.
And a lot of that was due to outside stressors in life, due to, if it was bodybuilding, it was a breakup, it was tons of things going on also at home life, and being not able to kind of cope with that. So like, yeah, it's like, you know, it sucks at the time, but looking at today, back then, is like, I'm thankful for that now.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Of course. But usually it's very hard to see in the moment.
Correct.
Right?
Very hard to see in the
Looking
moment.
back, of course, hey, that was a pivotal moment in my life.
Totally.
But when, for example, having the gym as an outlet for majority of your life, and then all of a sudden achieving the greatest amounts and still not being fulfilled.
Yeah.
That can be hard.
Yeah, it's kind of, you know, you're on a high and then rock bottom.
Yeah.
And then, you know what, I think at the time of that is relying on people that are close to you in those hard times. Like, what happened is, after I left there, is at a really good time, my buddy was working at Popeye supplements, and he was leaving to get his career going, and there was basically a spot open up for work. And he vouched for me and said, you know what, you got to hire this guy. He'll be great.
Wow.
He'll be incredible. Yes, he's going through a really hard time, but he's super passionate about, you know, fitness, health, supplements. Take a chance. And I'm super thankful that he still did that to this day.
Yeah.
And that started to get my life back on track.
And how long was that dark period of?
Oh, probably.
Because when we tell the story, it's 5 minutes, but in real
Totally.
life, it's not.
I would say, like, I'm just thinking back, like 6 months.
Wow.
If somewhere around there, I don't have the exact time.
Yeah. But of course, it's an extended period of time.
It's an extended period of time, and you know what? For me, it's kind of like, I remember bits and pieces, but I've also blacked out a lot of that because it was so painful that I don't remember it all. If that makes any sense. It's kind of like, you know what? I don't want those memories. I want some of those memories, but I don't want them all.
You don't want to think about it?
Yeah.
No?
It's like, it's not that I don't want to think about it. It's actually, I can't remember.
Gotcha.
And I think it's a mechanism that our brains have to protect us. To like not remember trauma. Like, if you talk to anyone that's gone through trauma, it's they always have bits and pieces. I feel like they don't have the whole picture.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's very that's an accurate statement. I'm trying to think about times in my life when I was hard.
Like, go through trauma and be like, you know what, can I remember everything? Probably not. You can remember bits and pieces.
No.
But it's important to remember, but also move on.
You said this around 2020. This was also when the world was kind of shutting down.
When was COVID exactly?
I think to March 2020. I think so. Yeah. 2019 to March 2020. I remember I was in university and they gave us a call. They were like, "Don't come to school."
Okay.
I was like, "Sounds good."
Totally.
Life's good.
Totally. So it was definitely a hard time, and then, you know, I started working at Popeyes. And that kind of is where, you know, life starting to get better.
Okay.
It's something, if anyone's listening to this and knows me, they know I love supplements. I absolutely have a huge passion for like, what do they do in the body? What do they, how do they help someone achieve their goal? The science behind it. So it's like a dream job, right? It's like, anyone that's into anything, if they're working in a store filled with those items, how can you not be happy going to work every single day? And that was awesome for me. And was a huge pivotal point in my time of, going from a really dark place into a positive environment every single day. And, having customers come in, wanting to achieve goals, wanting to change their body composition, wanting to get healthier, wanting to see progress. You had that conversations daily. And I was in my glory.
Nice.
Yeah.
Did that reignite your passion for the gym as well?
That, I never thought of it that way, but, just that you said that, that's a really good way of putting it up. Yeah, it did. It got me like rejuvenated and being like, this is something I want my career to be, right? Something in this field. I would say it rejuvenated my passion for bodybuilding and health and fitness. And moving on from Popeyes, it was, still to this day, I tell everybody this it's one of my favorite jobs I've ever had. If I had the time, I would still work there, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I knew it wasn't a long-term career, or I could, make a living necessarily doing that job for the next 30 years. I'm not sure how far ahead you want me to go, but basically at the time I was still, getting coached by Grant, so from GFit. So he's been a huge part of my life. Like, probably the number one person that's impacted my life out of anyone. He's not my best friend. He's my mentor. He's a father figure to me. He's honestly everything. I was still getting coached by him, still, and everything like that. And I kind of approached him and said, I want to do what you do. Just because he had such a huge impact on my life, and been like, I want to impact others. And I approached him a couple times about coaching. He's like, hey, we can talk about it and everything like that. And he's like, hey, I'm open to ideas. He's like, I just don't think you're ready at that time. And I completely agree with him. I was still, not 100% capable of even looking after Brett.
Gotcha.
That I wouldn't be able to look after or help others. So, a year passed by working at Popeyes, loved it, incredible, and ready for, and then kind of approached him again and said, yeah, let's start to get some courses under your belt. Let's start to get some education under your belt. Let's start to get the ball rolling, basically, to start coaching. And he hired me as a coach for GFit. And I started to take on clients, and that was a shell shock to begin with. Is starting to be responsible for others, other than myself, was huge, and something that's harder, or what's the right word here? Easier said than done. And a huge shock initially.
You're on the other side now.
Another side. Another side is like, instead of, executing, you got to get people to execute, and to, be motivational, to be a leader, to have set standards. So that was, for the first year of coaching, if I'm looking back at myself, it sounds horrible to say, but I wouldn't have hired me. I definitely, it wasn't the coach I am today. And I learned tons in that. A big obstacle from that too is when I did go to coaching full time after I left Popeyes, was basically the different type of work. Is I was in a building every single day, like going to work. I was interacting with customers every single day. And compared to, now I'm working from home. I'm on a computer, at 8, 12 hours a day. At the time, when I first started, again, it was COVID still. So it was not much in-person communication. It was everything through video call, like Zoom. And I really missed that one-on-one human connection. So that was a huge shell shock, and been like, can I do this? And can I be, you know what, successful at this? Like, you know what, yes, I'm passionate about it. Yes, I'm excited about it, but am I actually good at it?
Yeah.
And you know what, there's for the first years, like, man, I don't know. Like, what's my plan B? Because there's no way I can do this for the next 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like anything, you just get better at it, and you get more confident at it, and you know what, keep working at it and being like, you know what, I'm going to get more education. I'm going to do mentorship calls with people who are successful. I'm going to get more mentors to kind of take your coaching to the next level. And I think a big thing, sorry to interrupt you, is part of it is repetition. As well as just like, you know, getting back to sports is, you know, if it's basketball, if it's baseball, if it's football, it's all about repetition to get better. I think coaching is part of that too, is you need more and more clients to become better.
Yeah, like you're getting your reps under
exactly,
your belt. Hey,
right?
like, you're gonna learn something from
every client, and every client's different of what they need, right? Is, you know, what are their likes and dislikes for food? What's their schedule like? What's their ability to adhere to the plan? What's their personal life like? You know, what's their abilities or even goals to achieve, right? You know, some clients are wanting to just start to get to the gym. Some clients are wanting to compete. Like, excuse me, everybody has a little bit different goal.
Yeah. And then probably one attribute that I've gained from listening to you, talking with you, is you go all in, right?
Yes,
and
100%.
And especially with like now transitioning into the coaching thing. I'm going to go all in, right? I'm going to get the certifications. I'm going to put in the work. I'm going to find those clients. I'm going to have those conversations.
Like,
and I'm going to make it happen.
Totally. And then, like, you know what people ask me is like, who are you, right? It's to today. The first thing I say, coach. Like, that's who I identify myself as today. And you know what, that's part of the reason why I haven't competed since 2019, is because I get more out of coaching. I love seeing my clients. I love seeing my athletes, you know, get the result or get to stage more than even myself. And I get more fulfillment out of that. And that's part of the reason why I haven't competed. Is probably I love coaching more.
And that's probably the same feeling that Grant felt when you were in those shoes. And you're able to see those through your clients now.
Correct.
What a full circle moment.
Full circle, and it's incredible, because, like, you know what how I feel about Grant helping me, I'm trying to pass that on to my clients now, and being like, you know, giving them the same mentorship or help or support, whatever word you want to use to them.
I want to go back to one thing that you mentioned when you approached Grant for the first time, and he said, "No, let's wait." What did you think when he told you that?
At the time, like, you know what,
because you're ready to go.
I'm ready to go, like, and stuff like that, and you know what, was I mad? No, because he explained it to me, I understood it and stuff like that. But disappointed, for sure, for sure, is because it's definitely something I want to do. But looking back now, you know what,
that's very wise.
He has and still does have my best interest, right? And you know what, he's looking at it from a mentorship and a clear mind. At my time, I wasn't in a clear mind, because I was still in a depressive state, or in what's the right word here? Basically a fight state. Like, I wasn't thriving. I was struggling, right? So I just wanted something to immediately make me happy, or a goal that I wasn't prepared for.
And then coaching did that for you. And then outside of coaching, you were also able to get what you wanted as well in terms of relationships.
Totally. And I met my amazing fiance, Fallon.
Sitting right there.
Just watching behind the scenes. And I was very lucky to meet her. And you know what? I was very resilient at first to even dating somebody. At the time that I met Fallon, due to previous relationship, you know what, destroying me and putting me in a downward spiral. It was very hard to open my my heart again. So we kind of joke about it, but her and I, we don't really have an official date that we started dating. We kind of throw around a few dates, because we were basically seeing each other for like 6 months before apparently I officially asked her to be my
Apparently.
girlfriend.
Okay.
That was a huge thing. She also has 2 children, which I absolutely love, and that was a huge thing to take on too, especially from coming out of at such a trauma state that I was in, and not even be able to look after Brett.
Yeah.
Can I take on coaching, looking after my clients, then a new relationship, and then, oh, you know what? You're actually a father now too.
Yeah.
Like it was a lot to take on in a short period of time. But you know what? It's similar to bodybuilding or anything like that. It's
All
kind of
in.
you're all in,
All in.
and you're kind of believe in it and being like, this is the path I want to get to. And 3 years later is we're engaged now,
Congrats.
living together.
Yeah.
Got a brand new house.
Congrats.
Everything like that.
Are you fulfilled?
I am.
Yeah.
I am fulfilled for sure. Like, you know what? I'm never going to be satisfied. But you know what? From a day, I'm very lucky to wake up every single day and have the life I do now. Especially where I was, at 4-5 years ago.
Yeah.
Basically on the verge of nothing in my life.
Would that person 4 or 5 years ago, Brett, would probably be very proud of the person that you are now.
Totally. Like I wouldn't think in a million years that I would have the life now at that time.
Yeah.
I would have been happy with a fourth of it, to be completely honest.
Yeah.
Because I was lost. I was nowhere to be found. So
that's a very powerful, and I'll go back to something that I've learned from this conversation with you is you're willing to make it happen.
Yeah.
Right. Let's go back all the way to baseball. Hey, like I want to play baseball. I'm gonna do everything it takes to become a baseball player. I want to do bodybuilding. I'm gonna do everything I want to take. I want a family. I want a nice life, and I want to be fulfilled in that route. I'm gonna do everything.
Exactly.
And that's very commendable, and I
Thank you.
respect you for that. That's that's a very amazing story. Thank you so much for sharing. In terms of before we wrap this up here, the world of coaching.
Yes.
Right. That's again another world that you stepped into and you've embraced it. What's some of the challenges that you faced, and what's some of the rewards on both sides?
So challenges is getting good at coaching is and that's a lot of things. If we look at the fitness coaching, health and fitness industry, coaches usually have a lifespan of like a year. To be completely honest, it's very hard because there is no barrier to entry into coaching. It's not like you need a degree or you should have a certification, but you don't need a certification or anything like that. And anyone could put in their bio on Instagram saying, I'm an online health and fitness coach.
Yep.
Great.
I've seen
that. And the old saying is, someone does a show or someone has a transformation of themselves and like, hey, I'm taking on clients now.
Yeah.
They have a very short time span or lifespan because, it's hard. One, you got to get clients. Then you have to have success with clients. Then you have to, continue, growing your clientele. And it takes a lot of time to do that. So that's probably the hardest thing with fitness coaching is the lifespan of it.
Yeah.
And how you basically expand on the lifespan is doing a good job. And getting transformations, getting results.
Yeah. I've definitely seen that for sure. People who have had a journey and a phenomenal one, to be honest, right? Like someone completely transformed their physical and mental state of where they are, but now running a business, now getting leads, getting clients, and making sure you deliver on those results to get even more testimonies, results,
and understanding that it's not a 9 to 5.
Exactly.
And I'm on call 24/7, right? Like a client can email me, text me any single time of the day, and I need to respond.
Exactly.
I work 7 days a week. I don't just work 5 days a week. And there is times that I do burn out, and it's something I'm getting better at figuring times to take a break. But at the end of the day, what I think really shines through to become a good coach is passion. Is loving what you do. and I really believe if you love something you do, you're never going to stop doing it.
100%. Yeah. And you're willing to work those 24
I'm
hours
willing
because
to work those.
you
I
love
love
it.
it. I love it. I love seeing the results.
Mhm.
I love seeing the clients, a light bulb go off in their head, like, I get what you're saying. I'm gonna, execute this.
Yeah.
And helping people is number one.
Mhm.
It's from anything that I've done my entire life growing up is am always, people say a people pleaser.
Yeah.
And I would agree with that is I want to help as many people as possible
Mhm.
achieve whatever they want.
I see some very parallels in the sense that when we started this podcast, it was, okay, we're going to do this for ourselves.
Yeah.
And then late last year, I decided, hey, listen, I'm going to do this for other people. I'm going
Totally.
to do a business for myself.
Totally.
And yeah, I work 24/7. Yes, I work with clients, but it doesn't feel like that because of how much I enjoy the space that I'm in.
Totally.
I enjoy the conversations that I have. I enjoy all those things. And so even the nuance, now I have to sit in here and edit for 5 hours, or yes, you got to go to the gym for the 9th time in the day because the client is there. But those don't really matter because the end goal is fulfillment.
It's fulfillment. It's so worth it.
Exactly.
And especially where I'm trying to transition now with my coaching is getting back to bodybuilding is where I want to go is being specific to contest prep clients or high level clients. Yes, I'll still work with lifestyle clients and I love it. I love seeing their transformations, their goals. But where my passion is and true fulfillment is contest prep.
Yeah.
And coaching clients for our local shows here in Winnipeg, our local shows, or sorry, not local shows, but our Canadian national shows in Toronto. And then eventually, I want to get clients their pro cards and to compete on the Olympia and Arnold Classic stage, which for people listening is kind of the Super Bowl of bodybuilding.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Have you thought about the relationship that when you were bodybuilding and the relationship that the impact that Grant had on your life that you're going to have on your clients?
Totally. I think about that every single day. Is the impact that he had on my life was so or is so amazing and so where I am today. I wouldn't be where I am today without him. That's what I want to give to my clients.
And not only other clients, then they become mentors,
they become mentors, friends, and a family.
Yeah.
And I say that to all my clients. When they come over to my house, make yourself at home. My place is yours. If you need to use the microwave, you need to use sauces in the fridge. Make yourself at home.
Yeah.
I obviously want you to look at me as your coach and your leader, but we're also a partnership.
Where does this journey go now?
Where this journey goes now is continue to number one is continue to expand my knowledge, and that's something that I feel like a lot of coaches don't do. Is they start coaching, they know what they know now, and they just continue to use that recipe for clients, but every single day there's new research coming out, there's new studies being done, and there's never we can never know everything. So what I'm really focusing on now is personal development.
Okay.
So what I've been doing a lot of is mentorship calls with a lot of these top coaches that are, who are coaching in the Olympia, who are coaching in the Arnold Classic, and, hiring them and spending, thousands of dollars on calls with them to level up my game.
To learn, yeah.
To learn. And, when I'm not on my computer responding to clients or making meal plans or workout plans, what I'm doing is listening to podcasts. What I'm doing is reading books before bed on nutrition and training. Like getting back to the kind of the moral of this podcast, I'm 100% in, right? Is number one, is making sure that I give everything to my clients that I can.
That's amazing.
And I just want to learn.
That's an amazing mindset to have. If there was something that you left today and you're like, hey, I wish Robin had asked me that, or I wish I had touched on that, is there something that you really wish that the audience should know about your journey and how you got to where you are now?
The biggest thing is a lot of it is you see on maybe Instagram or even other platforms is the glory and the positives. And people don't fully understand that there's probably going to be a lot of negatives or a lot more negatives or a lot more struggles than the happiness. So I think that's the biggest takeaway, is to never give up.
Yeah.
Is the thing, because there is time still to this day that I question myself. Should I be doing this? Am I the right person to be doing this? Can I do this? And the moral is I'm 100% in, and if I fail, I can live with that because I given everything I got.
That's amazing. Do you have any advice for someone who... Actually, I wanted to ask you about the social media world, for sure.
Yeah.
Especially the world of the fitness trainers and the world of even the bodybuilders. What is the current state that you see in the world of like social media and presenting it?
Yep.
How much of it is authentic? How much of it's not authentic? What do you see?
I would say it's about a 50-50. Depends on who you follow.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of social media, maybe 4 years ago was glitz and glamour.
Yeah.
A lot more is people are sharing their struggles now, and I think that needs to happen. Because especially for clients who are going through a contest prep, if they only see glitz and glamour online or on YouTube, I know a lot of YouTube is popular now about people vlogging.
Yeah.
And
Sam Sulek is the one.
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
If they don't see the struggles, they're gonna think that they're doing something wrong, or they're gonna have this first struggle and give up. But if they see these people who they follow and look up to and their idols struggling as well, during their journey, they're gonna be like, you know what, X, Y, and Z or so and so been like, they probably went through the same thing, or they did go through the same thing, and they didn't give up. I'm going to be the exact same thing. I'm going to take that mindset and push through.
Yeah, it's so much more motivating.
So much more motivating. You know what? We do want to see the glory, but a lot of the times we want to see the struggles because that's real. You know what? Everybody's life has ups and downs, and the downs is I think what makes you as a person. Because if I didn't go through all my downs in my life, I wouldn't be the person I am today.
And I hope people who are listening can take something from this.
Yeah.
Because again, you're not glamorizing all that.
Totally.
You mentioned life was hard.
Yeah.
And you were able to go through all that to get to where you are.
To get
all those made you who you are today.
Exactly.
So I appreciate you sharing.
Yeah,
Thank you
like
so much.
nothing handed to me. It's all work. And yeah.
If you have any last piece of advice to someone who may be watching, and whether they're in a tough spot in their life and they either want to get into bodybuilding or they want to use the gym as an outlet, what would you?
I would say number one, 100% the gym is a great outlet. It's a positive outlet for it. If they're struggling, I would say number one, rely on people around them in terms of a positive mentor or person around them. If they don't have that, go out and find one. There's tons of people that want to help others. You can always reach out to me. And I'm here for ear to listen to if you want my advice or anything like that. But I would say find a positive space and a positive outlet.
That's awesome. All right, Brett. Thank you so much for
course.
coming. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure to check out Brett. Everything will be linked in the description below. I'm gonna go hit those 225s eventually. But if you haven't already, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next week. Peace. That's it.
Nice.
That's a wrap. Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
Thank you.